Thank you, Tara, Rabbi, for your powerful and heartfelt words. The AJC, UJA, and Westchester Jewish Council for creating this opportunity for us to share our stories, share our sorrow, and share our tears. And I want to also acknowledge there are many, many elected officials who've joined us here. I want to thank them for being my partners in so many ways as we get through these truly terrible times. You heard Tara, you heard Rabbi Creditor talk about 1 year ago. Let me just put a little more color on what it must have been like 1 year ago. As parents tucked their kids into bed and kissed them goodnight, and others, a little bit older, met and gathered in fellowship, dancing till dawn at the Nova Music Festival. But at a certain point, the sounds of the pulsating music were drowned out by the gunshots and the missiles firing overhead and the trucks arriving, literally stealing people, throwing them into vehicles, and the image of that one young woman off the back of a motorcycle being stripped away into the unknown. And in the homes, the places I visited as the first elected official to travel to not just Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, but went out to the kibbutzes, literally 1 week after President Biden had been there as well. As he was touching down, or he was leaving, I was touching down. I went to places no American had been to yet. And the photos will never, ever take the real images out of my mind, with the smells, the sights, the people I held. In that moment, as I walked through with a vest, military people surrounding me, not far in the distance, seeing missiles being fired still in Gaza as we were at the border, I walked through homes that had been once places of joy and celebration. And I will not be as graphic as I saw, but I still have the shoes I wore as I stepped through puddles of blood because I don't know what to do with them. And I was in the safe rooms. Now, these are safe rooms paid for by the government to make sure that if there was an attack, families could gather. They had food stored there. They were just ready just in case. And those safe rooms became rooms of terror, the places where many young women were raped and mutilated. Another image was a family there that every day would think about how they could help their friends in Gaza. They're trying to build relationships. I mean, this is the kibbutz. These are people who came and kind of stepped out of society to raise their children in a place of love and understanding and peace. And there's a certain day every year when this one family would fly kites over the border so they could see a sign of love and friendship. They used to do that at 4 o'clock on this very day every year. I stepped into their home, stepped over the kites that were filled in blood, clothing, shreds, shrapnel was everywhere, holes in the walls. And I said, kind of asking, like the rabbi did, where was God? Why didn't God protect these people? Man's humanity against man is so chilling. We thought it had been left in the history books of the Holocaust, and we always said we'd never forget because it could never possibly get as bad as that again. And the innocent children torn from their parents' arms or murdered in front of them. The young man I saw whose wife and 3 children were stolen in front of him, he found out later they had been murdered. The stories that I heard made me think, yes, it happened again. In our time, in our so-called civilized time, a barbaric group of terrorists, and don't call them anything but terrorists, because that's what Hamas is. And I called it out. Immediately in the aftermath of it, I was back home talking about this, and I was called out by a reporter who said, "Why are you calling them a terrorist group?" And I said, because they are. I once served in Congress, a member of the Homeland Security Committee. They were defined as a terrorist back in 1996. I knew my facts. And while there may be deniers and people in our own state who will not acknowledge what happened on that day, I went for one reason. I had a witness with my own eyes and provide the moral clarity when I returned to stand up to those who would say, oh, well, that was deserved because they did this or that. There's nothing on earth that could justify what I saw and the searing pain that so many still live with today 1 year later. Never. Nothing could justify that, ever. Something else about that journey. The night before I left to head over there, it was late night, I was in the JFK lounge. I wasn't sure if I should call my father and tell him his little girl was going into a war zone. He still thinks I'm his little girl. And he said something that was so quintessential, crusty, old Irish Catholic guy. He said, Dolly, I'm so proud of you, but keep your goddamn head down. Okay, Dad, I will do that. Little did I know as I was flying across the ocean that my father ended up in a coma that night, and I landed and found out he had passed. My staff immediately said, we're making arrangements for you to head back home. And I said, no, you're not, because I can't bring my father back. I will mourn him later. I am here to comfort a nation. But what I felt in return as I walked the streets and the story of what had happened was out, and I went to the wall. I had 2 pieces of paper, one for the people of Israel and one I had to have for my dad. I said, they comforted me. And that was a sign of the spirit and resiliency that you spoke of. It is so embedded in the DNA of the Jewish people. No matter what happened, something so horrific, I could barely comprehend it, and they were trying to comfort me. Extraordinary acts of kindness. It gives you hope. It gives you that sense of endurance through time. And oppression of the Jews is not something new that happened even in our last century. It goes back thousands and thousands of years. And even in our own state, the great state of New York, home to the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, 1.6 million strong. Even a place like that I'm so proud to represent is not immune from horrific acts of anti-Semitism in our own cities, in our own communities, especially here. That's abhorrent to me on so many levels. I came back from that journey shocked to realize that there were people protesting in the streets, not protesting what had happened in Israel, but protesting Israel itself. And what was happening on our college campuses? Threats. I literally flew back from my father's funeral on a Sunday night and got the word that there was an individual who was threatening the lives of Cornell University students. I called the president. I said, I'll be there for breakfast. I sat down with students, and I said, you're going to be okay. I went to Hillel. I said, you're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you. And I knew I owed it to their parents and to them and all the aunts and uncles and everybody else who had some connection to Cornell that I was going to keep their children safe. And every other campus that exploded in anger and hate and images that we never should have seen. I called up all the university presidents. I said, there are laws on the books, human rights laws, state and federal laws that I will enforce if you allow for the discrimination of our students on campus, even calling for the genocide of the Jewish people, which is what is meant by from the river to the sea, by the way. That's what they're meant, right? Those are not innocent-sounding words. They're filled with hate. Things are calmer now. because I finally think the university president started threatening expulsion, which is what we told them to do. If you violate another individual's right to pass freely on this campus, you should not be on that campus yourself. We're going to continue standing up and fighting. Thank you. But also protecting our synagogues and yeshivas and cultural centers. We have brought more resources to bear than ever in the history of our state. We changed the laws. We changed the laws so hate crimes are now bail eligible. That was taken out, it's now back in. Making sure that we can prosecute those who cross the line. I'm happy to do that. And monitoring social media for those threats by the white supremacists who hate Jews, but also hate blacks. Because I saw that manifest itself in Buffalo, New York, my hometown, when 10 individuals shopping in a grocery store were slaughtered because of the color of their skin. There is hate here, my friends, but I'll tell you this, I believe it to my core. We can overcome this hate. We can push that hate far into the recesses of our minds. We can change the course of history by standing together, all who feel oppressed, because there's more of us than them, I assure you. And as long as we stand united and call it out and are not afraid of those who try to raise an arm against us, let them know the power of our strength. That's how we draw the hope that gives us the strength to carry on. I could tell you so much more. My heart is full of anger, frustration, but also I found some room for some hope. And I'll keep that hope alive with all of you as we stand together and never forget those 1,200 people and the hostages who are still held, including 7 Americans, including our own Omer Nutra from Long Island. I met his relatives when I was there. I met his mom and dad so many times. I've held them. I'm a mom myself. I can't imagine what it's like as we go through another round of holidays again with that empty seat at the table. Thank you for gathering tonight. Thank you for letting me see a visible reminder of what is so extraordinary about the people of this state, the Jewish people, congregations like this, because I see strength in your eyes, an enduring strength that will get us through these times, and let people know that the Jewish people are the strongest because they've had to be. I will say this. I will be there at your side. I will be there calling out the negativity and the hatred every step of the way. I will be your ally because you have been mine. I thank you. God bless the people here tonight. God bless the people of the great state of New York. God bless the people of Israel. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.